Hello, welcome to the second episode of Sales and Scotch, this mini series podcast for sales leader on the rocks. Today we will be talking about navigating the pitfalls of sales and leadership. I think we all have been there as a team leader or responsible for a sales process. Sometimes we feel stuck. We have our energy drained with the friction in our work life that can lead to failure to a certain degree. So today we decided to tackle this pitfalls heads on and even help you prevent falling into them. They can be common mistakes or bad practices that sometimes we're not even aware of them. So let's tackle them. Here with me, we have Cedric Charpenet, we have Leon van der Len and Giovanni Proietta. I will let you present yourselves, starting with Cedric.
Oh, no pressure. Nice to meet you all and great to be here. So what do I do? I've been in the B2B sales game for quite some time now, plus years. And what I do now, and I help companies with that have sales teams that are a bit too small to warrant to have a full-time sales leader, but too big to be handled just by the founder of the company. So I kind of mesh myself in there as a fractional sales leader and help them to structure their sales, build their processes in a different way, measure what needs to be measured to be able to get to another level of revenue. Who's next? Leo, come on.
Thanks, Cedric. I'm a leadership coach and consultant. I basically help founders build a self-managing organization.
I am a salesperson and I am heading the inbound marketing and sales in Spike. So that is all about me, I guess.
Joao.
And I am the host of this podcast at this moment, so let's focus on that. I will jump straight in. Well, one of the things that is considered a mistake from sales and from the sales and leadership point of view is not listening. So active listening is actually a key attribute from a sales leader, from a leader in general. And I would love to hear your considerations on this, Leon.
Sorry, guys, I had a problem here on my side. I missed the last 1.5
First
minutes.
topic, active listening.
First topic, which did not happen at this moment, but it was not your fault.
Sorry about that.
So actually, I'm going to repeat it. So active listening is considered a key attribute for sales leaders, for leaders in general, because it can actually turn into a major pitfall, and I would love to hear from you. What is the importance of active listening? How you make sure that you achieve it with your clients, with your team, all that.
Yeah, interesting topic. If you want to listen to someone, or let's say you want to listen to your organization, right? You have to first know what it is you want to listen to. So look, when you have in your organization a clear direction where everybody aligns to, you know what is noise and what is not. So I'm not this kind of person that says like, you should always active listen to everything all your people have to say, to be fair. Because a lot of the things are noise when there's no organizational direction. So for a leader to be good in active listening starts with first understanding what is it in our organization that must be listened to. And that is, for example, defined by what's in line with our mission, vision, values. What is in line with our goals. So the stronger a leader is able to give an organizational direction, in other words, get the whole bunch into one direction where everybody is excited and, feels purpose for, the clearer the leader knows what to listen to and what not. So when that leader knows what he wants to listen to, and what is noise, just background noise, it automatically becomes an effective trait. But just active listening for the sake of active listening, like, look what a good listener I am, that's not going to cut it. So I always mix it like the personal trait it's great to have active listening skills, right? In sales, of course, it's very important. Also to mirror and to ask questions back and to reframe or rephrase what the person said. But in the business context, it should be focused around what is it that we actually want to listen to and what is just background noise. That's my take on it.
Yeah, actually, this is a very important take, because what is active listening? As you said, you cannot listen to everything all the time. You need to be able to clutter, to go through the clutter, to cut through the noise. What is active listening? I would love to hear your definition on that, actually.
Okay, I'm gonna try to give it as short as possible sentence. Active listening is the art of making sure you receive the message exactly how it's intended by the sender. That to me is like active listening. And then of course you have this whole list of how do you get there, yeah? Asking the right questions, yeah, like I said, rephrasing what the person has said, getting a confirmation of that you have received the message in that way, trying to go a level deeper when people usually don't say right away what they want to say. You have to kind of coach them towards the real reason or the real answer or the real objection or whatever it is they want to bring up. But yeah, in the end, it's like you as the sender is responsible for sending the message, but you as the active listener can sort of encourage the sender that, the message is delivered and you receive the message as it was intended.
Good. And Cedric, in sales, active listening is super important when you want to know your clients and how to present your solution to them. Do you agree with Leon on this?
I don't disagree with his version. I just think that if you put the sales cap on, it's a different way of explaining it, because ultimately active listening is usually something that a terminology that's used when you're on a call with a client, and where you're trying with all the effort possible to listen intently to what they're trying to tell you, which is what Leon said. I think one thing that I would add is, as salespeople, we usually need to qualify our prospects. We usually need to do discovery. And the main mistake that usually happens is that we're always thinking about the next question that we're going to be asking. And that's where active listening comes into play, because if you're doing that, you're not actively listening. You're thinking about something else. And that question might not have anything to do with what your client just said. And he's actually taking you down a path that you should be going down, and you miss it because you were thinking about another question. So active listening is exactly that. It's enabling your prospect to take you down a path and you facilitating that path taking, so that you truly understand what their challenges are, what their true need is. And it's only by asking questions that are relevant to what they just said that you're going to get there, not by thinking about these long list of questions that you want to ask. So
actually, this is an important question. There's a common practice in the sales world when you devise a script. You're talking with a client and you have the script that you have to go through. I mean, it's important to know what information you want to extract from that, but following a rigid script can be meeting killer. Don't you agree?
That's you just said it exactly. That it's the script is to take you down a path that you should be going down, but ultimately you shouldn't follow it to the letter. Sometimes we take a tangent in a conversation with a client, and that script kind of wants to take you back to the path that you should be going down, understanding the true need. I don't know what methodology you want to take, spin, band, there's so many. But ultimately it's trying to take you down. What budget does he have? What's the need? What's the agency? What's the this, the that? And you want all that. But ultimately,
Sorry, sorry,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Then I was curious to know how Gio, practices active listening when he's doing discovery calls or sales calls with his
I
clients.
really liked what Leon told, because I think, I mean, there are two types of active listening, and I would call more. I mean, there are two types of proactive listening. Sometimes we look for the information that we want to hear, and sometimes we set the frame so that we are attentive and receptive to a certain type of information. I think I think some of that needs to be part of what we do. We need to be proactive. We cannot. Yeah, part of us cannot listen to a conversation as a conversation about life and love. We need to have a certain structure, but the other end is pretty scary. And as Cedric said, we don't have to get stiff. We don't have to get too much attached to our script, if we have one, to our mental script sometimes. So I actually would say that it depends on the personal trait of the person practicing this. For some people, it's a matter of having a structure because they're not very structured. For some people, they're too structured and they need to get loose. I've been both people in my life, and I think I tend to be too structured, and I have to loosen up and be a bit more receptive to the conversation. I think it's letting go and being open to the outcome, being open to. I mean, sales is a lot of mental power. We all know about this, and we have to use active listening as a tool, not to create additional confusion for us. So, yeah, but it's a very interesting topic. I think we would talk all hours about it.
It's
Yeah, and
actually
active
very
listening is
powerful.
also the act of listening at the moment you have a conversation, right? If we put back the leadership hat on, you know, great leaders are listening to problems in the organization bottom up, not top down. So they know that the real information to every issue we are facing sits in the practical level, sits on the people that are the closest to the action. You know, I don't like hierarchies anymore that much, but yeah, bottom up is also a form of active listening by actively seeking out that what those people have to say in the
Leon,
practical
what you're
level of
saying is
organizations.
super important, because I think this is a very, very interesting thing to be said to maybe leaders listening to us, and that is you have to have your first front actively listening to your customers, because if they don't, the message they will bring back is fake, it is not real, and it's filtered. You don't want that, so it's a very important skill, really, when meeting and facing the
This
clients.
this is an
Very
analogy
the
to
same
war.
way.
I mean, you have your feet on the floor, your boots on the ground in the first line of battle, and you need to understand what is happening there. A lot of generals are not there because you don't want to risk them. They are somewhere devising a strategy. But if they don't have the right communication coming in, if you don't listen from the people who actually have the boots on the ground, you cannot devise a strategy that is a winning strategy, right? And you need to active listen to actually know your team, to actually know what problems they are facing, and to know your client and to present a solution. Don't you think that that's true, Cedric?
Yeah, but I was also still thinking about active listening in the sense that if that is one of the key skills in a sales role, but leadership in general, knowing how to listen is the key. But then the sales as a profession and a career kind of opens up to many other professions. And the reasoning that I'm coming with this is I'm hiring for a few of my clients right now and really struggling to find the true good listeners out there that have sales experience. So I'm thinking of going beyond that. And I was even suggested at some point, oh, I know someone and she's a nail technician. At first I was like, what the hell are you talking to me about? What am I going to do with a nail technician in sales? But then you realize that while they do their nails, they keep on talking and they're listening and they have
Haircutters and
all these stories.
bartenders.
It's
Yeah.
like a therapy, right? Session almost. And so I went on a little bit of an exploration of what type of professions beyond sales would make sense to check and actually interview for
I'm going to
sales.
tell you a secret.
Go
Priests.
ahead.
Priests.
Oh, that's the next level. That's the next level.
That's the next level. Yeah. Yeah, but actually that is true. I mean, when you're active listening, you want to learn something. You want to learn as a person, as an individual. If you want to go through a course in university, anything, you need to actively listen to learn what's being taught to you. When you're managing a team, you need to learn what is the status on your team, what challenges are they facing, how to overcome this challenge. But you need to actually learn to know what they're going through. And when you're selling, if you want to present to pack a solution for something, a painkiller, you need to understand the pains. You need to learn. So everything comes down to learning. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but this is the way that I see it.
Yeah, there's some big truths in there. There's also a question from Anna. She asks, could you share some of your best practices, how to switch ourselves to the active listener mode in an environment of reaching the goals as soon as possible?
Wow. Fast-paced environments. Yeah, I think there's no such thing as switch on the mode. When you're active listening, you're always, this is a stance, right? So when you're working, this consumes some energy, and you're active listening to your work. When you go home, if you have kids, you'll be active listening to your kids and your wife, or you'll be reading and you're active listening to whatever book you're reading at. This is a stance that you get always. I mean, sometimes you need to actively listen to yourself, to your body, to understand that you're too tired, or that you need to eat, or that you need, it's a stance. The thing is, when you need to focus on something, you need to clear up to focus on the matter at hand. If you're somewhere and thinking about something else, then probably you're going to fail to yourself in that task. I mean, this is the worst failure that you can have. You fail yourself, and then you're going to regret it after a few moments and said, "Damn, I did not catch that. That's terrible." So it becomes a spiral of low confidence and everything. But I think that this should be something that is always switched on, and you just need to nail down your focus. Be able to clear your mind to hear what you're hearing at the moment, to be in the present.
Ultimately, I think there's just one thing that summarizes what active listening should be: is that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. It's a good ratio.
Use the ears.
Use the ears. At least twice as much as the mouth.
Yeah. So what if the other person has that as well? Then who's talking?
The one who feels more uncomfortable.
It all depends on the questions as well, because everybody likes to talk about themselves and their issues, and you just need to be the better listener so that you're the one that actually makes the other talk about them.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another thing. So on the topic of active listening, sometimes you also have to active listen to what's going on around you as a leader, as someone who is responsible for some processes. And what is going on around is constantly changing. So sometimes also new tools are coming into play. As a good leader, you should also be able to understand what is going on out there. And use every tool that is at your disposal that can make you more efficient, or that can help you achieve your goals. And here, Cedric is usually the guy who likes to test different kind of tools. And I know that you're constantly testing and going through this. So I would love to hear your take on that.
So, if you want a tool that is going to help you with active listening, one of the first things to do is to record, transcribe, summarize your conversations with your clients. A lot of these tools have a bit of conversational intelligence to it. It can be pretty basic to being very, very profound for some. But just, to measure the talk time, you can see how much time your client is talking relative to you. As a percentage of the conversation. I think ultimately you want it to be a third, two thirds, just like, two ears, one mouth. That's a good ratio to follow. And yeah, some tools go even more in detail where you can put in keywords about like budget or timeline or dates or whatever, and then it'll keep it like tagged so that you know that that's what you needed to talk about and you've done it. So it moves on to the next thing. So we even have battle cards part of it. So it actively listens as well to you. The tool, I mean, not just the salesperson, the tool also actively listens. So yeah, in terms of tools, you get so many. I mean, I personally use Grain as a recording tool. Some use Fireflies. Some bigger companies that have the means for it use things like Gong, which is like the big daddy of, I don't know how you want it, the OG tool in that space, and the price tag to match. So there's endless of these tools out there. So you need to just test the one that works for you.
On the topic of tools, this is something that it's a very nice topic for me. That is, we always listened or heard that we should be using all the tools that make your work better, right? But there is a balance to that, because while you're trying out new tools and learning new tools, you're losing time that should be focused somewhere else. So there is a learning curve to every single tool. So how important it is to change. We also have been listening as a kid, when your team is winning, you don't touch it, which I always thought it is a bullshit. Sorry about this expression, because you can always do better. And if all the other teams are evolving, so you need to evolve to keep up at least, right? So Leon, how do you think that this debt work, this debt of, the learning debt towards the debt of sticking to what is working at the moment?
Well, I have my own opinion on that, and that is, look, a samurai sword is a very dangerous thing. It's sharp, it's strong, it's shaped in a form, it will cut your head off in one swoosh, right? But if you give a samurai sword to somebody who doesn't know how to handle a sword, it's basically quite a useless piece of metal. But now turn it around, right? The samurai is very much trained to use the samurai sword, so it's a lethal combination between, the samurai and the sword. But now take the samurai sword away and give him a stick. He will still be extremely lethal, even with a broomstick, because he knows how to handle it. So for me, the tool is just that. It's just the tool. In the end, it's about making sure that the user is trained to be lethal with whatever tool you're giving the person. So I think that I see myself that organizations see tools too much as, this is our next big thing to gain massive levels of productivity and clarity. But actually, the truth is, to me, the least tools you have, the better it is. I'm now working with one client. They have a tool for following conversations in the meetings, and then they have the tasks somewhere else, and then they have so many different platforms that everybody who comes on board already says like, "Whoa, you guys have so many tools. I'm overwhelmed. Like, what to use and for what?" Just go back to basics. Like, the tool is just the tool. And yeah, there might be marginal differences between one tool. This is better, this is better. But as long as that doesn't have like a incredibly effect on your profitability or whatever, I don't think we should be distracted too much by shiny objects that are popping up left and right of new tools.
It's a trend that's been,
Yeah, on the line of what Leon told, I would like to suggest a very 1.0 tool for being a better active listener. Bring a person with you in conversations, because sometimes be sure it's a person that can provide feedback, and you can be open to receive it. Having another person in a conversation is a 1.0 tool that can improve you as a listener. You can talk about it later, what he says, what you didn't say, what you've seen, what you didn't see. You can compare yourself, see if you've been a better listener or worse listener. I've done this in the past. I think it's very, very, very useful, and you don't
You
have to
just need to make
resist
sure
external
that is
research.
a tool with AI, right? So with NI, natural intelligence, right?
I think it's okay if I is there. If it's A,
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
fine with that. But yeah, sure.
But actually, there's research that backs what you're saying, Giovanni, in the sense, even, well, research. Gong Labs, they do this insane research because they have so many clients that record so many calls. The most effective calls come with 3 different personas. So what they mean by personas is you have not just 3 people there for one, or 2 clients on the other end. It's you might have one, which is the salesperson. The other might be the account manager that might take over the account once they sign the deal. And then the last one might be the sales engineer who's going to sell the thing and can come with the technical knowledge. And then, so you have these 3 that are there and all listening to the same conversation from a different angle. And so you get that true power. So that can beat any
I've
tool.
been a user of Cedric's of Gong, so I'm very, very biased, and I really like this possibility of different people looking at that and giving different feedback, recording this. Everybody looks at that, but I think, the tool is important, and for sure that is like a Ferrari when it comes to that kind of things. I think, my personal opinion, but I think mindset is very important in the organization about being open about feedback. Not being resistant, being open to change. No, it's but indeed the tool is awesome, but it comes with some mindset change, I think, somewhere. So
Now, a tool can really, the right tool for the right chunk of the organization can really make a huge difference.
sure.
So I think it's very wise to, in Netherlands we say, like, don't go over one night of ice with choosing your tool, especially not when you're a larger organization with many people involved. And there are specialists out there who understand how to look at what tool will fit best to your needs, right? So it makes a lot of sense to invest in choosing the right tool. But once you chose it, stick to it. And not like, okay,
Unless it's
you know what, let's jump to Asana. Now, maybe it's ClickUp again or whatever tool we're talking about. That's going to create only a bigger depth to what you said, João.
But all these tools are going through this major change. This trend is happening of consolidation of tools. So not only that CFOs are getting more and more involved in the choice of tools, but now consolidation is a big one. So you have CRMs going in the project management space or service space. And then you have these project management software that offer CRM capabilities as well, just to be able to do exactly that.
Look, I remember when we were selling customer communication tool, right? And you're fighting head to head with some big companies. The biggest challenge, the biggest friction when you're talking with a client is the migration process. The migration process can be
huge.
dramatic, huge, and then there's the learning curve. So you're wasting 2 months with this, right? So this is a step that if you take it, you need to be sure that you're taking it, and then you need to consolidate, as you were saying, right? But now, actually, with the advent of AI, we have all these new tools coming up every day. And I want to do a disclaimer here. I'm going to talk about a tool that provided us with accounts with the possibility of trying out that tool, actually, and of using it for free. Cedric is the one who tested it more in depth. I'm going to ask to talk about how can a tool like Salesforce, for instance, impact your sales process and impact your productivity or your
So, I mean, I'm still a big proponent. We've been talking about tools and consolidation and all that, but I'm still a big proponent that usually a specific tool does that one thing very well. And it's very hard to find that same level of quality if you go with a tool that does everything, right? Yeah. And Salesforce, I think, is exactly fitting into that space of cold emailing, but bringing in AI to give it that next level. And it's not just AI to script your your message, it's also AI to start to translate it into various languages, because it's clearly proven from reply rates that if someone receives a message in their own language, they have a much higher probability of replying to it. And so the power of Salesforce is maybe a little overwhelming, because I'm maybe old school a bit, because it's got all these, like, you need to obviously, like any AI, you need to train it a little bit, tell what your product does, your ICP, what you're looking for, what you're selling, etc. But then when you once you've plugged that in, it starts to spit out some pretty cool stuff. So yeah, I think we've only just scratched the surface in the usage, and we need to play around a little bit more with it. And he's always launching new capabilities with it. But
you know what we really need? You know what we really need? To bring Frank to talk about it personally on the next episode. I think that would be a brilliant idea.
Yeah. We should, indeed.
So let's do that. Let's have that. And by the way, I want to apologize our listeners that today I changed to Sales and Coffee. I promise you, next episode will be Sales and Scotch again. And in the meantime, we made a short pause, and I want to talk a little bit about more of pitfalls that sales and leader can fall into in their regular in their regular work, in their regular activity. And I want to talk about something that sometimes it's really undervaluated, that is measuring what you need to measure. So first, defining what to measure. Second, actually measuring it. And I'm going back to Leon. Leon, how important do you think it is to define what to measure and actually measure it?
It's everything, actually. Like, imagine you're sitting in a car without review mirrors, without a dashboard, just two pedals and a stick, Okay, on a circuit, this might be quite cool, but in traffic, it's a disaster, If you don't know how much fuel is left, you don't know whether or not the engine is overheating, whether or not there's enough oil. Like, if you don't have any metrics, you have you can't manage your car in a way that you will, effectively reach your destination. So knowing what to measure on your journey from A to B is like, it's imperative.
So how would you determine what you need to measure? What would be the mental process of at any given leader, to start to think about what they need to measure, define that?
Very good question, because I'm going exactly through that thought process with my clients at this very moment. I think you need to work backwards when you're doing all of this, and you need to understand what your goals are, but also how do you measure those goals, and what type of reporting do you need? And then from there, you work back on what type of data would you need your sales reps to put into the CRM, so that you can actually get that data and measure where you are relative to your goals. And when I talk goals in my world compared to Leon, is revenue, it's number of meetings, it's deals open, average deal size, velocity of sales. It's, all these metrics that you need. The data is only as good as what you put in, right? You need to feed it so that it can give you those numbers. And that's a very, very tough thing to impose on a sales team, unless you are fully transparent on what you're trying to achieve and they're on board with it and input that. And that's where the tools come in as well, because you want to limit that interaction of data input as much as possible and automate it so that they don't have to think about it, and then you're resolving that problem. So I'm quite curious as what Giovanni does in his world now, and how do you measure it and what do you measure?
I want to answer, but I want to say something a bit on a different plan of what you're telling, because I think what Leon and Cedric are telling is not only relatable for me, but very, very much applicable to what I do. I would add something that I've listened pretty recently, and I think it's interesting if there are any salespeople following us. Listen to what your clients are measuring, because sometimes it's a different angle if you want, but what that wants to mean is that as measuring things is important for us, it is important for our clients. And sometimes, especially on an individual level, talking maybe with corporate clients, with enterprise clients, it's very important to understand what the person in front of you is measuring. Specifically, questions related to this topic help you getting an overview about priorities on the other side of the fence, and help you not being as much direct and maybe too intrusive, because you're not really asking something that is personal. You're just asking like, what do you measure? And I think there is that worldly famous take. I think it's Peter Drucker. If you cannot measure, you cannot manage. And I think it's behind many of the things we see in our clients' organizations and in ours. So, yeah,
So do
it's
you have an example?
uh, yes, I can. Uh, I actually wanted to say something about measuring, and it's pretty controversial. It's like measure less. Sometimes we get caught into measuring. For example, in sales, we get caught in measuring everything, like revenue conversion rate,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful dashboard to have. But I, I mean, a few time ago I could have found this extreme. Now I found it okay. Let's measure one thing and just stick to that. Just let's really
Like a
brainstorm on
North
how we can
Star
make it
KPI.
easy for us. Easy to digest. So yeah, and I mean, like I'm a big fan of one number. I know it's rough. I know it's data lovers maybe could not love this one, but revenue is important. We should always be looking at that, and I think it's very fundamental,
Yeah.
fundamental number for the company. So yeah,
I would argue that though.
okay,
And
fine.
not this is where one number is great, but the underlying explanations behind it are even more important, in the sense that revenue can mean a lot of things, but if you're losing money while selling, you're still making revenue, but you're not making any money. You're actually losing. And so margin or profit levels, profit margin, etc. If your sales are just giving discounts to every product that you're selling, then you're not going to make any money. So you're going to
You
make revenue.
yeah. No, Cedric, you
I'm
make
going
me
to
think
challenge
about.
you on that too. I think that
There we go.
you need
Challenge
to,
of the challenge.
Wow.
you need to measure something that also helps you a little bit predict the future, understand better your client. If you're
Forecasting.
looking for revenue, exactly. So if you're looking for revenue, you need to understand how you're getting this revenue, who is giving you this revenue, so you can better target your clients, etc. So, but then here I'm going back to what Giovanni said. This is a bit of a circle. You can have a lot of data, right? So you can have an infinite amount of data of everything that you do. But it's important to actually organize this data and get some information out of it. If you're a data-driven company, if you have a data-driven process, you need to have the data to drive that process. If you have too much data, then you will have an overheat of the system or whatever. Or you need the hands. You need someone who can actually go through the data and give you the highlights.
The rise of sales ops.
The rise of sales up is actually exactly. But yeah, there is a tendency of measuring everything, and this is why I don't want to quote any book title, because it has nothing to do with this. But it's important to measure, to find out what matters and measure exactly what matters, right? So you need to know what is important for you to measure, and then follow that. Otherwise, you'll be
Yeah, but this is
swamped.
changing quite fastly right now, because there's so like this rule of over an whole organization, and we're not talking about in the sales department, but let's say for a whole organization, you have 5 plus minus 2 KPIs, because that's about the level of variables that our mind can follow. But now comes AI around the corner. AI can interpret an unlimited amount of metrics. and take decisions out of it. Because, a KPI is not a KPI if it doesn't drive decision making. Like if you have a metric in your organization and you question yourself, what decisions have I taken on this up or down on this metric in the past week or weeks? If the answer is none, it's not a KPI. It is metric, but it's not a KPI. You should not have that visually every time because it's just nice to see. Metrics, however, can support your interpretation of the KPI, right? Like, okay, the KPI did this. Let's look at the one or two metrics behind this KPI, and maybe we can have a conclusion there that will drive our decision making. So that's okay, but still, it's not qualified as a KPI. But now comes AI around the corner. The AI can probably follow and track an unlimited amount of metrics and combine them all together and take a conclusion out of that we humans cannot do. So we are on this brink of a change here, that it doesn't actually matter how much we measure anymore, because AI will be able to handle it for us and just spit out conclusions for us. That's, I think, is what's going to happen with BI and the way how we measure business.
That's a bit scary. Let me ask you one thing. Do you think, because one of the problems of having a lot of numbers to measure is that you can handpick the numbers that feed your biases when you're running your business, right?
Absolutely.
Do you think that this capability of AI will be able to somehow overcome these biases? Help you overcome this bias?
That's a bit predicting the future, of course, but seeing what it's capable of doing now in a foreseeable future, it will definitely even be able to overcome. It will be able to detect the human bias in choosing the metrics. So, but the whole incentive systems are designed to bias people around the wrong metrics. And that's called a Cobra farm. Have you ever heard of the Cobra farm?
No.
No? Okay, so in colonial India, they had a problem with cobra snakes in cities. And so the Brits, they said to the local population, like, if you bring that cobra, we'll give you money. So clever entrepreneurial Indians, they started to build cobra farms and to breed cobras, kill them and bring them to the Brits for money. So you had this entrepreneurial cobra farms rising up everywhere in the country to make money. And then the Brits found out and they said, okay, we don't give any bounty for that cobra anymore. So they released all the cobras back into the street, and the plague was like 3 times bigger than it was actually before. That's what's happening a lot in organizations. The wrong thing gets rewarded, just like, so people take decisions for sake of achieving the metric, but that attainment of the metric actually did not create the business value they wanted with it. And that is where these biases happen. So it's always important to choose a metric that is as complete as possible. What does it mean? You're talking revenue, maybe it's lifetime value of the customer is actually much more important, because it's revenue. You can compare it with your customer acquisition. So do we make money? That means that there's customer satisfaction, right? If there's a supply chain behind it, it means supply chain works as well. Otherwise, LTV is not rising, right? So retention. LTV is a very complete metric. Hence why it's for many companies actually the North Star KPI. Like for Amazon, LTV is North Star KPI, lifetime value. Keep it as sticky as possible to our product.
It's much cheaper to renew an existing client than to sell new business.
Yeah. But imagine that Amazon wouldn't have lifetime value. Imagine they would have revenue. Their platform would look totally different.
Mm-hmm. It would be much less user-centric.
Yeah. Exactly.
Customer-centric. Actually, Giovanni, I'm very curious. You have a sales team in your company. How do you make sure that they are rewarded for the right things, as Leon was saying, and how do you make sure that you measure their performance with the right KPIs?
So I will sound a bit like a broken radio, but focusing on few things is it's very big here, at least for me. Revenue is still a big part of what I do. I come from a past where to quote one of my favorite intellectual, Dwight Schrute, he says this about slides. He says PowerPoint is the peacock of the business world, all show no meat. So I would apply that to KPIs sometimes and OKRs, and I think to a certain extent these things and these concepts are sometimes glorified, and they do not. I really align and approve what Leon was saying. They do not bring value to the business, and the time should be spent not thinking about if we did well or not and why. This is surely important, but first thing first, about if they bring value or not, if they will bring. So I think focusing on the end goal, even though this is misaligned with what we are doing now, is a very nice and easy way to track what we are doing. I understand if there is I mean, the patient is alive or dead. For me, that is important. Then, if the patient is alive, for sure, maybe we are feeding him with the wrong supplements. Maybe he has a disease. Maybe these are things that I want to know, and to some extent, we can figure it out as it happens. But it's very always important to look at that green line over the screen to see that the heart is beating and the patient is alive. Mm-hmm. So focus on that. And the second pillar would be eagle eye on small details and small wins. If there is, if we are all aligned when it comes to the value of what we do and what we put into our work, a small thing done well is very important, and it needs to be rewarded, especially in an environment such as ours, the one of a startup that is growing and is needs to be built to some extent. We need to focus on very small things that are going very well and try to iterate, study this. So yeah, focus on the small things, focus on the big things if you want. This is what I'm trying to do, and this is what I think works. It changes as we move to different environments. So it's I wouldn't say the same if I would be in a very large organization. I don't think it would work, to be fair. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Cedric, you talked a little bit before that is you mentioned before that it's cheaper to take an existing customer than acquiring a new one. I see a lot of times, and I've seen this in different projects in different companies, that companies are sitting on a database of customers they just ignore after a while. How important it is to go back to this database?
I mean, every sales rep should put some time in the calendar for data cleaning of the CRM, just to go over the accounts that they have, the people they sold to, depending on obviously how long they've been there, because it always surprises me that after just scratching a little bit the surface, you realize that there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in their existing list of clients that they have, just because they didn't follow up, they didn't go back to this, they forgot this. So deals were put to rest, and then they didn't follow up like a quarter later. And you're missing out on a lot of revenue, to go back to that North Star. And I think that maybe it's because, and I'm a big proponent of this, there's a company strategy, and then there's how you align that strategy to your sales team. And the main way to do it is through incentivizing them and through their commission structure, right? They need to understand that, yes, if they get the effort is what is basically remunerated. The proportion is on that front. But so recurring business is most of the time at a lower commission than new business, because new business takes more effort. Maybe that's something that should be flipped around from time to time to refocus on what you already have and try and capitalize on it instead of looking for new business, because you have a treasure trove there of clients and revenue, potential revenue that is untapped. So I'm a big proponent of actually going back to accounts, creating a list of target accounts as well, and capitalizing on how to grow them over the next year or so with account planning and just an effective account management strategy.
That reminds me
my
of a
take.
story I recently heard of a US-based company. They were an association, and they gave out licenses for, I think, actually it was around gun usage. So you get to get your license that you're like certified for, and it had like 50,000 subscribers. So they were doing quite well, but their organization was like choked over the amount of clients, the amount of subscribers they needed to handle. So from one day to another, they 4x'd their price, and they lost 50%, 25,000 subscribers in 12 hours time.
They still made more money.
But they 4x'd their subscription. So they make double the money from one day to another. Yeah. So that is a bit in line with what you say, like, always focusing on new business. How can we get the maximum out of what we have today?
Yeah. And that's where, you're coming back to customer satisfaction, LTV, how to make sure that you're delighting your customers so that it becomes less of an effort to always go back to them and you making the next move, but your client actually is the one that comes back and even refers and is an ambassador for your business. And then, the virtuous circle kind of continues. That's the power of client retention. And I think it's misunderstood.
Mm.
Yeah, this actually brings me to the next topic. That is, everyone should nurture their network. I mean, this is not only on a sales perspective, but also on a professional perspective. You never know when you will need someone to help you. You need a new talent that is right there, someone that helps you create, proof of concept, market fit. Giovanni, you're a super relatable person. Since the moment I know you, I don't know anyone that can relate to everyone as fast as you can. Yeah, you look like you're always super comfortable in every situation. How do you do that? How do you nurture your how do you nurture your network?
It will surprise you. I don't. And I will explain what I mean.
Those LinkedIn posts are all a lie? Don't tell me that. Don't disappoint us.
No. I will explain what I mean by that. I mean something actually very deep. People will like you for who you really are, and part of who I am is that I am I'm very clumsy sometimes in maintaining interactions with my network. I'm not going to hide it. I mean, it's always for me difficult to keep my things under control. Maybe because I have a large network, I don't know, but I think it's because of me. And I had a period of time where I was beating myself for this a lot. I was like, no, you need to find a system. I was studying how to make this better. Then I embraced it, and there are times where, especially with people that I met thanks to the other people that I know, where I simply go for it and I say, sorry I missed this. Sorry, I'm not gonna make it. Sorry, this is lost. I think embracing our selves and also like our flows as networkers. I will make an example about this. Is the way to go. I meet a lot of people that are not extroverted, and they don't really know how to do this, and they ask for advice. They ask me like, how you do it? What should I do? And what I tell them always is like, you shouldn't become somebody else. You shouldn't become extrovert. You shouldn't have time in your calendar to network or attend a networking event. You should absolutely do that, because it will make you feel miserable. And in this case, for sure, like maybe social networks are better. Maybe having a blog is better. Maybe something different from producing content is better. And I think we all need to find our own way to embrace networking. every person is different, and very important to bring our own piece to the table. Not to try to become somebody else, not to try to be interesting, not to try to bring something interesting to the other side to study this. This is time wasted. Try to discover who you are, and then you will find out that there are many things you do that are pretty cool. But it's a process of self-discovery. This is what networking is about, I think, ultimately. So yeah, the other way around, from what it looks, because it looks like something fake and external and vain. No, it's about being yourself. So if you are yourself, you will attract people that are close to you, that are interested in who you are.
I agree with you. I always love when I'm going back to Vilnius. Cedric invites me for a Scotch evening, and I always meet all these interesting people that he has there. But I really do appreciate the way that, for instance, he creates the opportunity for people, to be together and to meet. How do you do that, Cedric? Do you have some sort of plan? Do you push yourself to bring your network together?
Look, I think it's a question of mindset more than like Giovanni was saying. Don't force yourself to do what you're not comfortable in doing. Right. The way I see networking is not just to start collecting business cards or to just meet as many people as possible, because I'm not that great at remembering names, and probably of people will know that. So I have to ask for it several times. But what I try and do, and maybe it's my sales background on it, but I try to understand what that person does, how they have fun, what hobbies they have, and try and connect them to the people I already know in a way of, can this person be helped by someone else that I know for something that he's just telling me right now? Can be anything. He plays tennis. Oh, great! I actually have a group with people I want to play tennis. So let's add you and come. You'll just meet other people that play tennis, and we can have some fun. And maybe we'll achieve creating a doubles game for once, and not just singles or triples. So that's the mindset I come to when it is about meeting people. I like Giovanni, I don't actively go networking and all that. Actually, I haven't. Last night we went with Leon to a networking event. He invited me to it. The introvert has invited the extrovert in some way. Yeah. And I hadn't been to a networking event since, I don't even remember. I don't know.
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, COVID kind of killed those, and you kind of stayed in your own little immediate bubble for so much time that, reaching out of it was felt weird almost. But yeah, so that reignited something.
Can I say something just about this interaction here, Leon, Cedric? Sometimes, I mean, it happens to me. I don't think I'm that unique. I think it happened to everybody. Sometimes there are occasions where you could go and network, and you feel like, I'm not going to do this today. I don't feel like. I've noticed a pattern, and I mean, even here, I have this pattern with Katrina Kort that you know, Leon surely knows, also Cedric. She calls me for an event. She tells me, Joe, you should really go there. And I go there usually. And I do this. This is the message I want to convey. If there is a person that really knows you and knows your potential, she or he will mostly push you to places where you will do well and you will have a nice experience. So overcome the resistance, especially if it comes from a person that is closer to your circle, knows what you're doing, who you are. Sometimes it's the silent killer is like that little moment where you say, no, today I'm going to stay home, or like, I'm going to do it next time. So yeah, that's very, very important. Yeah, to that I would say yes, to that pushing. So to the Leon pushing to the networking event, yes.
But I'm a much more different networker. Like, I really believe that our minds are very limited, and there are a lot of unseen forces in this world that we cannot, with our limited mind, we can explain. I've always experienced that I never go out to a networking event and just like talk to as many people as possible. Like, I go to a networking event, I'm always like, if there's a person here with whom I should speak, that will happen and that will lead to something. And that is usually just one or two people. And actually, it usually turns out to be, a start of a new relationship or whatever it is, some sort of interaction with each other later. But I really admire people that are connectors. Like, networking is about making connection with people, and I saw Cedric doing it yesterday like 4 or 5 times, like with Ramin that hair, and like just
He's
building
very
connections
talented for
between
this.
people. Like, and I was like, it's a skill actually. Networking is a skill. It hasn't really much to do with introvertism or extrovertism. Maybe for an introvert than an extrovert, but it's actually a skill. Like, just
It's it,
listen, active listening, active knowing, and then making the
you're
connection.
it's these terms, the English language has these connections. You're making connections, you're
Yeah.
connecting one person with another, you're networking. Well, you're making people talk, you're always just in between, basically. You're the cable,
He's the
if you
web
will.
spinner. The web
Yeah,
spinner.
exactly. But it's true. Why not give someone an opportunity? If you meet this person can do this and that one does that, so maybe it matches. Figure it out. um,
I want to say one thing about networking also, because it's a bit, I mean, people don't care about this. People are not their work, they're not their, how they dress, they're not their nationality, they're not their face. Like, be curious about people, because sometimes we live in these two-dimensional situations where you are Giovanni, comma, job title, or comma, something, just
Yeah.
that something. And what is successful, we are all networker at the end of the day, more or less extrovert, but it's just being curious about the person you're talking to, being
Hmm.
open to that person,
Yeah.
not labeling that person. Yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to now do a
This
180
is too
degree.
interesting, Joao. Thanks.
No, I really wanted to touch this because it's beautiful to see that we are four completely different people. We get together under the power of networking, let's put it like this, right? From different backgrounds, from different walks of life, completely different from different regions, different cultures. And anyway, we're here and we're having this amazing talk. So this is beautiful. And this is the power of networking, basically, right? So you put yourself out there and you get this back. I wanted to go back a little bit and go back to the pitfalls, and we don't have much more time, so I would really want to just to approach to talk about a couple of topics. One of them is perfectionism. uh, Everybody is a bit perfectionist, and this is one of the hardest things to let go, and I'm super guilty of it. This is something I really struggle with. And from a leadership, I'm going back to Leon now again. From a leadership perspective, from a coaching perspective, how do you cope with that? How do you help people overcome perfectionism?
Well, perfectionism is very easy solved. It's having a very clear agreement on what is the level of the delivery that you both agree on, and nothing beyond that. So the more you leave it ambiguous over to people, what is the expectation, the more they will tap into trying to make it as perfect as possible, which is always a moving target. So it's again, everything comes back to what I said in the beginning. Also, like, knowing what to listen to is the start of active listening. Like, in terms of um, perfectionism, that is the same. That's the same thing. If you clearly know where you're going with your organization, everybody's aligned to it, and expectations on the deliverables are very clearly communicated, then where's the perfectionism? Because the over delivery is not the same as perfectionism, right? Over delivery is like doing more than you're being asked to do, or upping the quality a bit over what was expected. That's over delivery. That's a good form of perfectionism. But perfectionism paralyzes also our decision making. because it's a little bit the same what we do here today. If we would be perfectionists, we would have not done this session today, because we would overanalyze it. Like we would, we don't have done the marketing, we don't have enough people invited. But if we look at what really matters, doing the session, that's what matters. It doesn't really matter that there are no people here anymore at the moment, because the goal is to do the session. And the clearer we are about that in organizations to people, the more we can actually manage to reduce the people using perfectionism.
For me, it was just about spending time with you guys,
Yeah, for me too.
Having a scotch.
Yeah.
I wish I had a scotch and a cigar, but, can't have it all.
Done is better than perfect, right? So
Yeah.
do it. Like, but I don't have all the metrics, I don't have all the inputs, I'm not sure. Just do it. Like, encourage people to do it. Like, fine if it sucks. It doesn't matter. Do it. And when people go over this fear, like, okay, we're here to do it, not to make it perfect, and they're okay to fail, and they get not reprimanded to fail, that's when you have perfectionism.
It's the saying, it's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's an issue in organizations, because there's this, people are generally, in our society, afraid to fail. Like, it's like, I still have to meet the person that has zero fear to fail. Like nulla, nothing. So the more you can reduce that threshold of fearing to fail to as low as possible, then perfectionism is actually not part of that organization.
So, guys, I just want to ask you one last thought about everything that we talked about, something that you want to add. I think we are here for already 1 hour, 10 minutes, so probably it's time to wrap up. Starting with Cedric.
What?
Something
just
else
happened?
that you want? Sorry,
Ah,
not active listening.
good point.
Sorry.
Who knows? That was me. I was joking. No. So look, I think from the discussion we had today, the topics were pretty profound. I like how we bring Leon with his perspective of a broader organization and leadership, which kind of keeps us slightly away from just being focused on sales and maybe a bit of marketing, but ultimately, active listening. It's all about. And everything we've talked about was all about the other. You have to be there to provide help, to be there to support, to be there to satisfy, to delight. And that other can be your customer, can be, a colleague, to be just be there for the other. Ultimately, is what I would take away from this conversation. And I don't know what you guys think. It was deep.
Geo.
It's very philosophical.
It was very good.
Maybe, okay, I ask myself, what is the one thing you take out of this and do tomorrow morning? That is analyzing myself as a listener, analyzing how good we are as an organization, listening to what people say, slowing down on our agenda, our stuff, what we want to do, understanding really what people say and what people mean. So that's very important, and I will try to follow the advice that I give here to other people. I will give it to myself, being a person in and assess what are you doing, what are you perceiving and absorbing from what you hear. So yeah, being a better listener. That's
Leon,
yeah.
last comments?
Yes. The session was called Pitfalls, right? And I think that if we put that to the light of the last topic, it's okay that there are pitfalls, because it's just part of organizations, it's part of leadership, it's part of daily life, that there are pitfalls. And if we just are there to help each other, for example, in podcasts like these, or by listening to each other, or by giving people the tools that they need to understand where those pitfalls are, I think that's how we can navigate the field of pitfalls.
I agree with you guys. I think that we are all here because we're part of a community, so there's always somebody out there. Work exists because we are producing something for somebody else, even if it's for the community, for ourselves, but we need other people to buy our products, to listen to us, everything. So pitfalls exist when this communication fails, when these bonds break. If at least we strive to keep these bonds alive, to keep these bonds healthy, let's put it like this. Even if we fail sometimes, we'll for sure be a better person and create better processes and better bonds. And having that in mind, I hope to have you back, all back here next month for the third episode of Sales and Scotch. Hopefully with Frank Saunders from Salesforge. I think that's a great idea to have him here. Talk a little bit about the impact of AI in organizational structure, in sales structure and results, performance, everything.
Cold
efficiency.
emailing.
So yeah, that's going to be something super edgy at the moment. So for sure it will be interesting. And thank you so much for being here today. And thank you, Anna, for being here, also listening to us. And stay tuned for next episode 3 of this limited series podcast.
See you
Sales and
guys.
Scotch.
See you guys.
Ciao.
Everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.